Travel alert, using the road, you travel east, taking 5 minutes to arrive. Stepping into this larger establishment, you encounter all sorts of weapons, suits of armor, shields and other objects related to combat and the general defense of an adventurer. Moments later, an older but still muscular dark elf appears from beyond a stone counter and hails you, inquiring about your business here. Your initial transaction completed, the smith stands there for a moment, waiting to see if there is anything else you need. You must be the human party that helped repel the latest attack of the forest gods. The drow smithy begins, looking each of you over a little more carefully. You saved lives, which is good for business. Is that what's most important? Eswin asks, not impressed with the dark elf. I am in the business of combat, the smithy returns, not apologetic. If too many of my brethren are killed fighting those soul-sucking monsters, I won't have any customers left. Don't you care about your fellow drow as living beings? Kartha asks, discouraged. Actually care about them? The drow questions, considering the notion for a moment. As in, do they matter to me? No, of course not. Why would they? They are your brothers and sisters, Ariana proposes, disappointed with the smithy's response as well. You share common blood, experiences, beliefs, goals. Why would you not feel warmth and acceptance from your own kind? The dark elf looks to Ariana for a moment, storms raging in his tired and aging eyes. Anywhere is better than here in Grimtier, the smithy continues, his energy now gone. For 10 centuries, we dark elves have eked out a miserable existence here, banished to this island for being who we are, at war with the old gods for centuries, fighting over what meager resources we could scrape together. And now, not only have the forest gods returned to wreak their vengeance on us, but we're trapped in a sickness that's making all of us old and weak. And you ask if I care about others here in Lyclea, when I can barely keep myself alive. Janet, let's do an empathy check on your hero and see if you feel anything more here. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 8 was rolled. Success. While the dark elves haven't been exactly open and inviting to you and your party, you're beginning to recognize why. They've been all but trapped on this tiny island nation for centuries, living in misery and squalor, so it's not surprising that they would be angry, defensive, and even xenophobic. The plight of the drow here in Grimtier is quite sad, and you hope, someday, that you can do something about it. The drow have suffered enough, Kartha comments with heartfelt compassion. I hope that, one day soon, all of you can be welcomed back into American society again. The smithy nods but says nothing more, ending the conversation. The smithy waits for you to buy and sell additional weapons, suits of armor and shields. Be sure to purchase some magical items if you can. Ariana sells 1 metallic shield and receives the equivalent of 40 gold pieces. Barthol sells 1 short bow and receives the equivalent of 20. Barthol sells 1 great axe +1 and receives the equivalent of 192 gold pieces. Eswin sells 1 short bow and receives the equivalent of 20 gold pieces. Mariolette sells 1 short sword +1 and receives the equivalent of 128 gold pieces. Sainadir sells 1 metallic shield and receives the equivalent of 40 gold pieces. Travel alert, using the road, you travel south, taking 5 minutes to arrive. The small shop here is well organized with all manner of containers, made mostly of glass and each containing some strange powder or liquid. An older dark elven woman stands as you enter the building, greeting your party with the same suspicion you've experienced everywhere else within Lyclea. You're those humans who arrived, aren't you? The elderly woman asks, not all that friendly. I have magical potions for sale, I suppose I can sell to you. The transaction commences and the drow elf nods, secretly wishing you'd just be on your way. And what brings you to our tiny, miserable, forgotten island in the first place? The alchemist asks half-heartedly, perhaps a little curious. The outside world banished us centuries ago, we virtually never see outsiders here. That is a long story, good lady, Redfern returns with a soft smile. Suffice to say that we likely share a common enemy now. And who would that be? The drow woman asks, a little more curious. You're not sure you want to get into it with the alchemist. How do you respond? Choose an option, diplomacy, maybe another time, optimism, you don't want to know, tolerance, we've angered the inner circle. We've angered the inner circle, you answer with a slight grin, keeping to yourself just how badly your last encounter with them went. That's an understatement, Eswing quips, his hatred for the circle nearly as strong as his hatred for the undead. And they banished you here, too. The alchemist asks, not a bad theory. No, we somehow escaped and ended up here, it wasn't our intent, Kartha answers honestly. That's sort of what happened to our forefathers too, 1,000 years ago, the dark elf continues. The circle blamed the drow for everything, including the age of damnation itself, and banished us all over Mariga where it was too dangerous for others to live. Today, most of our kind occupy the frozen wastes to the north, tiny islands like this one or even underground tunnels alongside the dwarves. For starting the age of damnation and summoning the Hellions, your punishment was just, Sainadius can't help but condemn, yet another opportunity to preach his Sislan gospel. We did no such thing, the dark elf responds, angered by the statement. Our forefathers 2 millennium ago were strong, proud, and ambitious, yes, and war with you humans was probably inevitable. But we didn't unleash the Hellions into this world, that's just one more lie of many perpetrated to keep us dark elves down. Sislan scripture is very clear regarding who started the age of damnation, Sainadius counters, convinced of his beliefs. The dark elves were losing a great war and opened a portal to the realm of nightmares, flooding Mariga with infernals and nearly wiping out all of humanity. Your scripture is wrong, the alchemist insists, taking a stand. The monsters from the realm attacked everyone, humans, dwarves, halflings and dark elves alike. What could our side have gained by our armies being destroyed, too? Besides, at the time, we were much more technicky minded, we hadn't even yet learned how to control magic. Some things we will never really learn the truth of, Kartha interjects, speaking to the alchemist but looking directly at Sainadius. Let's not argue over what cannot be proven. What do you think, Janet? Choose an option, curiosity, I wish we knew what happened, honor, one must always obey the rules, reason, let's look forward, not backward. The curiosity score for Janet remains the same, it would be nice if we really knew what happened, you speculate, trying not to offend Sainadius. You're talking about events from 2,000 years ago, which occurred under drastic circumstances. I am guessing that if we truly knew what happened back then, the world would be a different place today. All I know is that we dark elves have been persecuted and damned for over 2,000 years, the elderly woman whispers. And while there are certainly some evil drow out there, most of us are innocent, we just want what the rest of you already have. Why is that so wrong for you humans? It's not wrong, Ariana answers, her response heartfelt. You're talking about justice, that all of us deserve to be happy in life, that it's long since past the time where we should all be working together. I know, as a wood elf, I see all the racism too, all the inequity, all the mistreatment. It's not fair. But just like most of the drow today are good people deep down, so are most humans, Kartha adds, actually taking the alchemist's hand in her sincerity. And there are even those of us who recognize that we can pass our human-born privilege to others. So, there is hope. At first the alchemist looks befuddled, not sure what to think. She then manages the faintest of smiles, perhaps taking the words of Ariana and Kartha to heart. Watching the tender moment, you note that Redfern is smiling as well. Eswin seems rather indifferent while Sainairs is just as puzzled as the dark elf. He truly has no idea what Kartha was just talking about. Still, it was an opportunity to leave someone's life just a little brighter than it was before, and you're glad to have had the conversation with the alchemist. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 1 point. The dark elf alchemist here remains ready to buy and sell potions to you. Janet lost 2,000 gold pieces. In return, she receives 8 potions of moderate healing. Travel alert, using the road, you travel southwest, taking 5 minutes to arrive. This shop seems to contain just about every type of stone, crystal, and rock imaginable, so if you're looking to buy or sell a few gems or pieces of jewelry, you've come to the right place. That said, the old jeweler here seems angry with all of you as you enter his shop, his body language screaming that he does not want you here. Bah! I heard there were humans in Lyclea, but I didn't think you'd come here to pester me. Out of my shop, now. What's the problem? Ariana asks, remaining patient and understanding. What do you think is the problem? The jeweler cries, his anger bordering on hatred. You humans have no business here, I sure ain't selling to the likes of you. About to respond, Ariana simply steps forward, ensuring that the jeweler can clearly see that she is an elf. Good sir, not all of us are human, and these humans are my friends. We're here to help, if you will let us. Let's try doing a charisma check on Ariana and see how the jeweler responds. Needing a 14 or less from Ariana, a 12 was rolled. Success, fine, whatever. The jeweler finally states, relenting to your party's desire to do business with him. Just make it quick. It appears Ariana and Kartha have changed the dark elf's mind. He still seems quite angry and will likely continue to be very rude, but at least you can now buy and sell any gems or jewelry with him. What can you tell us about those cursed treants attacking the city? Ariana asks, expecting a rude answer but wanting to know more just the same. Cursed treants? The drow asks, not understanding at first. You mean the old gods of the forest? Ariana nods and the jeweler considers his response, holding out his dark hand. Nothing is free, especially information. I will tell you what I know for 100 gold pieces, choose an option, pay the full amount, 100 gold, pay just half the amount, 50 gold, refuse to pay any amount? The dark elf grabs your money and stashes it away, then turns to you, a very serious look on his old face. The old gods have been here forever, at least before we were banished to this wretched isle after the age of damnation. They're nearly all powerful, and at first we couldn't stand against them. Once we learned that they didn't like us chopping down their trees to help build our city and cook our food, however, they began to leave us alone. Treants are like that, Eswin sarcastically quips. What cursed them? That's something new, the jeweler answers. Back in the summer, they began attacking us outright, no rhyme or reason. Worse, they seemed crazy, almost possessed, cursed as you call it. They even had a new attack, able to suck the very life out of those they captured. It's all we can do to keep them from invading the city now. I know them as the Strenigerus, Sainair's comments, sure of himself. They're nearly impossible to fully exterminate, you need to launch a full-scale holy war against them. Easy for you to say. The dark elf criticizes, not appreciating the words of Sainair's. We're no match against such monstrosities. Lord Daenzeth keeps telling us he has things under control, but the attacks keep coming, we're all dead if something isn't done. Having had first-hand experience with the cursed treants, you worry that the jeweler is right, something needs to be done. Question is, do your heroes have the strength to defeat these monsters and somehow save the drow here in Lyclea? GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. On that note, the conversation ends, the jeweler still unhappy with your presence but at least a little wealthier from the encounter. For the moment at least, you're free again to buy and trade additional gems and jewelry. Janet sells 5 amethysts and receives the equivalent of 1,000. Janet sells 6 bloodstones and receives the equivalent of 3. Janet sells 5 fire opals and receives. Janet sells 8 garnets and receives the equivalent of 2. Janet sells 13 topazes and receives the equivalent of. Travel alert, using the road, you travel southeast, taking 5 minutes to arrive, reams of paper and scroll tubes lie stacked everywhere, while a dark elven cleric awaits your presence, ready to sell you whatever magical scrolls you may require. Indeed, as you enter her shop, the older drow woman encourages you to come in, her demeanor not nearly as negative as most of the other dark elves you've encountered. The transaction commences and the female scribe here thanks you for your patronage, one of the more pleasant dark elves you've encountered here in Lyclea. I heard there were humans here in Lyclea, the scribe says with a soft smile. I don't recall that ever happening before. What brings you to our tiny island nation? We're here by accident, Cartha responds honestly, still not sure why you wound up here after your battles with the inner circle. And we're sorry for all the hardships your kind seem to be facing here. It's been quite the terrible past year, the older woman replies, her initial smile gone. Between the attacks of the old gods and the aging sickness that has affected half the city, I fear we're all in deep trouble. We're here anyway and want to help, you suggest, adding to the conversation. Who, best, to talk to regarding your troubles? That would be Lord Danzith, who all but owns the city, the scribe responds. But beware, he hasn't been quite himself lately. In what way? Redfern asks, the mystery deepening. He seems different, the dark elf continues, concerned. He's been acting more childish lately. He does not seem all that worried about what's going on, focusing instead on more normal things like wealth and power throughout the city. He does not even look the same, appearing younger than he once did, even though many of us are feeling, well, older. Lord Danzith, check. Eswin announces, recording the name in his mind. Well, go see him at once. He's in the power tower, but it won't be that simple, the scribe continues. He's obsessed with wealth, and is identifying the richest elven houses in Lyclea to pay him royalties, in exchange for local power throughout the city. You'll need one of his silver medallions to even see him within his tower. Where can we acquire one of those? Ariana asks, straight to the point. There might be one available at the black market, and I believe one is being offered as a prize at the arena. But either will be hard to acquire. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details, thank you, Kartha smiles, expressing the party's appreciation. Well, see what we can do. Lyclea has always had its problems, the scribe sighs, looking off in a random direction. Grimtier is a miserable place to live, which is why we dark elves were banished here in the first place. Maybe your arrival here can make a difference in the quality of all our lives. Your heroes nod and agree, ending the conversation on a positive note. The Drow scribe here awaits, ready to buy and sell magical scrolls for as long as you wish. Travel alert, using the road, you travel northwest, taking 15 minutes to arrive. Dominating the center of the city, the wooden power tower here is over 50 feet in height and rather odd looking yet still regal and impressive. Appearing to have been built from a single, massive tree and carved out from within, magical light illuminates the entire structure. A single large gateway marks the entrance into the towering structure. However, that gateway is guarded by at least a dozen drow warriors in ceremonial plate armor, so it appears you can't just walk in. Indeed, as you approach, the dark elves watch you quite suspiciously, some even loathing your presence, so it appears you will have a challenging time gaining entrance here. Halt. The Drow Guard commander orders as you approach to within 20 feet of the tower's door. Turn around, you're not welcome here. We'd like to see Lord Danzith and pay our respects, Kartha begins, her request sincere. We were warned your kind may come, the rude commander returns, eyeing each of you with great disrespect. We let you into the city, but we won't let you soil our great tower with your vile human breath. What a disrespectful thing to say. How do you wish to respond to this uncouth guard? Choose an option. Charisma, we bring riches to the Lord. Intelligence, we can help your Lord. Wisdom, we're the only hope you got. Lord Danzith does not need any help, especially from the likes of you, humans. The Drow commander returns, her racism quite apparent. He has everything under control. Monsters are at your gates, your populace is slowly dying and we're your only chance, Redfern responds, summarizing the situation well. We're willing to help, but we won't ask a second time. Planting fear and doubt in the mind of the Dark Elf, let's do a party wisdom check to see how this plays out. Needing a 13 or less from your heroes, a 5 was rolled. Success, the Drow Guard commander considers your proposition, appearing to actually relent. It does not matter, the Dark Elf then continues in a softer and more respectful tone. The entry hall beyond is magically protected, only those carrying one of the Lord's silver medallions can enter. Without a medallion, the magic inside will keep the doors closed and locked, you can't pass through. Peering over the shoulders of the Dark Elf and her guardsmen, you can see a closed door inside that does appear to require a small, circular, coin-like object to be pressed against it. Looking back toward the guard commander, she lifts her chin high in the air and folds her arms, almost daring all of you to defy her and try to gain entrance to the tower beyond. Without one of those silver medallions, you're simply stuck here. Where might we acquire one of these medallions? Ariana innocently asks with a soft smile. Not my concern. The commander replies, unwilling to even help with some information. Now, out of our sight, you wretched humans. The dozen or so dark elven guards continue to stand watch here, unwilling to let you pass through until you show them a particular silver medallion. Travel alert, using the road, you travel south, taking 10 minutes to arrive, south of the power tower and north of an obvious jail and gallows, you step into a small wooden building that appears to be some sort of ticketing outlet, where several dark elves converse with a dozen or so townspeople waiting in line to buy. Beyond the building are several more wooden constructions alongside a large, open field, a semicircle of stone bleachers partially surrounding the grassy field. There is a lot of activity here within this ticketing office, but naturally you will need to talk to someone to find out what all the hubbub is about. Trying to talk to someone, at first the older dark elves ignore you, hoping you will leave. Finally, however, one of the younger drow provides a response, unhappy about it. If you really must know, this is where our esteemed gladiators fight and entertain us, the dark elf begins. Small teams of gladiators spar out in the field beyond, the winners receiving half of all the wagers. How barbaric, Kartha whispers in your ear, rolling her eyes. Don't the townsfolk here have anything better to do with their time? The games had been suspended, the drow continues, overhearing Kartha's comment and unappreciative. But today's matches are special, given the prize being offered. And what is that? Eswin asks, rather intrigued. A silver medallion. Comes the enthusiastic response. A genuine silver medallion, being offered by Lord Denzith himself. It's unheard of. That's the thing we need to get into the power tower. Ariana is the first to offer, recognizing the item. We need that. Everyone wants a medallion. The drow ridicules. I will never see one, but neither will the likes of you. Why is that? Kartha asks. Only a dark elf can own a silver medallion, of course. With wealth and power comes respect, Eswin turns to you and says, expressing what you're already thinking. We should enter these games and win the silver medallion, then the drow will take us more seriously. You quickly glance about your party members, each of them nodding in agreement. I've never heard of humans fighting in the games, the dark elf considers, surprised. But if you're serious about it, go talk to the referee outside, she will tell you if you can join or not. The drow townsperson points toward the large open field beyond, pointing out a female dark elf clad in plate armor and standing perhaps 50 feet away. You thank the dark elf for his time, about to lead your party out into the arena field. As you leave the ticketing office, let's do a party spirit check and see if there is anything more you notice. Needing a 12 or less from your heroes, a 17 was rolled. Failure, well, you sense that the drow citizenry here aren't exactly fond of you, but that's about all you notice. Approaching the drow referee standing near the middle of the arena, you notice several groups of dark elf combatants out here preparing for the gladiator games about to begin. Amongst the stone bleachers and several smaller buildings encircling the field, you also notice what appear to be several wooden pens, some sort of creatures locked within. And what do you want? The female dark elf asks as you approach, looking you over and likely already aware of why you're here. We want to join the games, Eswin answers matter-of-factly. And kick some dark elf ass. Ariana whispers into his ear with a grin. None of you are allowed, the woman in plate armor huffs, in no mood to even haggle. Turn around and leave at once. Are you afraid of us? Redfern asks, taunting the dark elf. The referee ponders for a moment, so let's do a party charisma check and see how this goes. Needing a 14 or less from your heroes, a 15 was rolled. Failure, rules are rules, the drow woman finally replies. Although, large amounts of coin can sometimes bend those rules. Of course, you respond, not surprised by a suggested bribe. What can we pay you to join? I will catch a lot of grief letting you in, the dark elf responds, looking about. To make it worthwhile, let's say 500 gold pieces? That's rather steep. How do you react to the bribe request? Choose an option, forget the bribe and leave the field, pay the bribe. Agreeing to the bribe, you slip the dark elf what she's requested, your party 500 gold pieces poorer. Entering the games, and that chance for a silver medallion, costs 1000 gold pieces. Pay up now or forfeit your right to participate. 1000 gold, after we just paid you 500 gold? Eswin complains, wanting at first to refuse. The 500 gold was for me bending the rules just to let you in. Everyone must pay the 1000 gold piece fee for the right to play. Are you in or out? What will it be, Janet? Choose an option, forget the fee and leave the field, pay the fee, 1000 gold pieces. The woman in plate armor takes your fee and stashes it away in a pouch tied to her waist, about to address your party a final time. As you are the last to enter the games, you will be the first to fight. Win, and you advance to the next round. Lose, and you're out for good. Nobody fights to the death, signal your defeat at any time and your opponent will immediately retreat. Are you ready? The dark elf fighter seems a little patronizing, as if she knows something you do not. Let's do a wisdom check on your hero and see what happens. Needing a 14 or less from Janet, a 12 was rolled. Success, yes, you sense that something isn't right, and you warn your heroes to be careful. Your first opponent is another adventuring party, just like yours, the drow referee continues, about to leave. They are seasoned veterans and they'll probably make short work of you, so try not to forfeit too quickly. While several other groups of dark elves stand nearby, a drow adventuring party steps forward, unsheathing their weapons and preparing to do battle, and they do look quite formidable. Again, don't kill anyone, either side, the woman in plate armor commands, stepping away. But give the audience a good show, they paid a lot of gold to watch this. The drow adventuring party turn to you, wry smiles on their faces as they advance. Your party is under attack. Facing the entire party are 3 dark elf fighters, 2 dark elf clerics, 2 dark elf magic users and 3 dark elf assassins. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a boots of speed on herself, allowing herself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. It's Barthol's turn. What do you want him to do? Needing a 50 or less on percentile dice, a 39 is rolled. Success. Eswin uses a boots of speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round. Kartha casts Hold Person on Dark Elf magic user number 1, holding him and causing him to become immobilized in place for an hour, needing a 11 or greater. Dark Elf magic user number 1 rolls a 6 and fails versus spells. Dark Elf assassin number 2 attacks Oriana with it. Dark Elf cleric casts Hold Person on Kartha, holding her and causing her to become immobilized in place for an hour, needing a third. Dark Elf fighter number 2 attacks Eswin with her longsword +2 needing it. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet uses a blink dog on Dark Elf magic user number 2, biting him for 4 points of damage. Redfern casts web on roughly half of all encountered combatants, attempting to immobilize them in sticky goo. Dark Elf assassin number 1 avoids the Sainadius casts cause moderate wounds on Dark Elf magic user number 2, wounding him for 14 points of damage, needing a 11 or greater. It's Muriel Ev's turn. What do Marioleth casts magic missile on Dark Elf magic user number 2, striking him with a magic missile for 7 points. Dark Elf cleric casts cause light wounds on Sainadius, wounding him for 12 points of damage, needing a 10 or greater. Sainadius. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. With higher, Oriana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf assassin number 2, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 19, +7 to hit. Oriana. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf. Marioleth casts Phantasmal Force on Dark Elf magic user number 2, nearly horrifying him, needing a 11 or greater. Dark Elf magic user number 2 rolls it. It's Oriana's turn. What do you want her to do? Oriana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf assassin. Sainadius casts cause light wounds on Dark Elf magic user number 2, wounding him for 12 points of damage, needing a 11 or greater. Dark Elf magic user number 2 rolls a 6 and fails versus spells. Dark Elf Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf assassin number 1, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet uses a skeletal seed on Dark Elf cleric number 2, causing the monstrous hero to attack her for 7 points of damage for 10 minutes. It's Redfern's turn. Redfern casts magic missile on Dark Elf cleric number 2, striking her with a magic missile for 10 points of damage. It's Janet's blink. Janet directs her blink dog at Dark Elf cleric number 2, biting her for 1 point of damage and leaving her with 15. It's Barthal's turn. What do you want him to do? Barthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at Dark Elf cleric number 2, needing a 16 to hit. Dark Elf assassin number 2 fails a morale check, flees the encounter area and is automatically defeated. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. With higher values, Oriana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf cleric number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf assassin number 1, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 20, which is an automatic hit and does double damage. Eswin hits Dark Elf assassin number 1, doing 24 points of damage and defeating him. Saneaeus readies his mace +1 and swings at Dark Elf Cleric number 2, needing a 50 or less on percentile dice. A 80 is rolled. Failure. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Cleric number 2, needing a 20 to hit. It's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Dark Elf Assassin number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 9. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Assassin number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll is a 11. +7. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Dark Elf Assassin number 3, needing a 16 to hit. Die roll. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 15. Janet directs her summoned undead at Dark Elf Cleric number 2, causing the monstrous hero to attack her for 3 points of damage and leaving her with 3 hit points. Janet directs her blink dog at Dark Elf Cleric number 2, biting her for 1 point of damage and leaving her with 2 hit. Dark Elf Fighter number 2 attacks Eswin with her longsword +2 needing a 21 to hit. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, Arthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, Janet directs her summoned undead at Dark Elf Cleric number 2, causing the monstrous hero to— It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing— Janet directs her blink dog at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, biting her for 2 points of— Janet casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 8 hit points. It's Redfern's turn. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 20. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 21 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 13, +8 to hit. Eswin hits Dark Elf Fighter number 2, doing 11 points of damage and defeating her. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 344 experience points. The crowd goes silent. They definitely were cheering for their fellow drow adventurers and are both shocked and displeased to have seen them defeated. The Dark Elves bow to you and then limp off the field, now out of the game. Without delay, your next opponents step forward and you're quite surprised to come face to face with a small band of paladins of Sisla. Brother Sen is not here, so you suspect that this is another group that apparently was recruited here in Grimtyr. Paladins of Sisla, attack. One of them yells, the men in their perfect armor rushing forward. Your party is under attack. Coming at all of you are 12 Paladin of Sislas. It's Kartha's turn. What do you want her to do? Kartha casts Spiritual Hammer on Paladin of Sisla number 8, bashing him for 4 points of damage for 10 minutes. Paladin of Sisla casts Protection from Good on himself, protecting him from goodly creatures for a half hour. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a Boots of Speed on herself, allowing her— Paladin of Sisla casts Protection from Good on himself. It's Eswin's turn. What do you want him to do? Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Paladin of Sisla number 2, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 8, +8 to hit. Eswin misses Paladin of Sisla number 2. It's Marioleth casts Web on roughly half of all encountered combatants, attempting to immobilize them in sticky goo. Paladin of Sicily. Needing a 50 or less on percentile dice, a 71 is rolled. Failure. Barth. Janet uses a blink dog on Paladin of Sicily number 7, biting him for 6 points of damage for a half hour. It's Redfern's turn. What do you want him to do? Redfern uses a Hellhound pup on Paladin of Sicily number 7, breathing fire on him for 4 points of damage for a half hour. Sainadius casts Cure Light Wounds on Eswin, healing him for 10 hit points. Paladin of Sicily casts Cause Light Wounds on Sainadius, near GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 7, needing a 20 to hit. Die roll is a 9, +7 to hit. Ariana. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 9, needing a 18 to hit. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 3, needing a 18. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 7, needing a 20 to hit. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 3. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 9. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 9. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 9, needing a 18 to hit. Redfern directs his Hellhound pup at Paladin of Sicily number 3. It's Janet's blink dog's turn. What do you want it to do? Janet directs her blink dog at Paladin of Sicily number 9, biting him for Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Paladin of Sicily number 9, needing a 18 to hit. Cartha directs her spiritual hammer at Paladin of Sicily number 9, bashing him for 6 points of damage and defeating him. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 225 experience points. Again the crowd goes silent. They felt for sure that their Paladins of Sicily would be too much for you. Too proud to acknowledge their defeat, they simply limp off the field and are quickly gone. Without any sort of break in the action, a third set of combatants approach. Introducing themselves as the personal guard of Lord Danzith himself, they have come to put you down and win the silver medallion for themselves, likely the plan all along, so the medallion would stay with Lord Danzith. The guard here looks quite formidable as they march forward to attack. Your party is under attack. Facing the entire party are 6 Dark Elf fighters, 2 Dark Elf clerics and 2 Dark Elf magic users. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a Boots of Speed on herself, allowing her Marioleth casts Lightning Bolt on roughly half of all encountered combatants, electrocuting them. Dark Elf Cleric number 1 is electrocuted for 13 points of damage, needing a 12 or greater. Dark Elf Cleric number 1 rolls a 17 and save. Cartha casts Cause Moderate Wounds on Dark Elf Magic User number 2, wounding him for 18 points of damage, needing a 11 or greater. Dark Elf Magic User number 2 rolls a 2 and fails versus spells. Dark Elf Magic User number 2 has been defeated. Dark Elf Fighter number 2 attacks Ariana with her longsword +2 needing a 20. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 23 to hit. Dark Elf Fighter number 6 attacks Eswin with her longsword +2 needing a 21 to hit. It's Nyers' turn. What do you want him to do? Sainadius casts Spiritual Hammer on Dark Elf Cleric number 1, bashing her for 3 points of damage for 10 minutes. Dark Elf, it's Janet's turn. What do you want her to do? Janet uses a blink dog on Dark Elf Cleric number 1, biting her for 3 points of damage for a half hour. Redfern uses a Hellhound Pup on Dark Elf Cleric number 1, breathing fire on her for 6 points of damage, needing a 50 or less on percentile dice. A 50 is rolled. Success. Barthol blends into the shadows. Eswin uses a Boots of Speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round for GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Cleric number 1, needing a 22 to hit. Die roll is a 20, which is an automatic hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 4, +8 to hit. Eswin misses. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1, needing a 17 to hit, +4 due to hiding in shadows. Die roll is a 9, +6 to hit. Barthol misses. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 4. Redfern directs his Hellhound Pup at Dark Elf Fighter number 4. It's Janet's Blink Dog's turn. What do you want it to do? Janet directs her Blink Dog at Dark Elf Fighter number 4, biting her for 2. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 23 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 6, needing a 23 to hit. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 17. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, needing a 21. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 3. Sainadius directs his spiritual hammer at Dark Elf Fighter number 2, bashing her for. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 3. GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 3. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1. Sainadius readies his mace +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 3, needing a 23. Janet directs her Blink Dog at Dark Elf Fighter number 3, biting her. Janet readies her mace +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 3, needing a 20. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 12. Redfern readies his quarterstaff +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1, needing a 21 to hit. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1. Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at Dark Elf Fighter number 1, needing a 21 to hit. Die roll is a 19. Sainadius directs his spiritual hammer at Dark Elf Fighter number 1, bashing her for 6 points of damage and defeating her. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 456 experience points. The crowd, tired of your victories, they begin to boo your party and even shout obscenities. If it were up to them, they would run you out of the arena right here and now. Defeated, the personal guard of Lord Daenzeth limps off the field, now out of the game. Catching your breath after all the combat, it appears there are no other opponents. The silver medallion should be yours. Amidst the chaos of the angry mob encircling the arena, you spy the Dark Elf referee standing alongside those animal cages some 50 feet away. Expecting her to approach and name your party the victors, she instead just looks about, as if feeding from the negative energy of the chanting crowd. Janet, this does not look good. The drow referee smiles, waves her arms, then suddenly pulls open the gates, keeping whatever is inside the animal cages secure. A harrowing moment later, a lion's head protrudes out of the opened cage, followed by leathery wings, a strange combination. Then it becomes clear that the head and wings are physically attached to the same body. The creature is a manticore. Soon, 6 of the bizarre monsters emerge from the cage, looking about and enraged as all hell. Let's do an intelligence check on your hero to see what you know about manticores. Needing a 13 or less from Janet, a 13 was rolled. Success, From what you remember, manticores not only fly but can whip spike-like missiles in combat from its tail that can easily kill a man in one pass. They are cruel and voracious monsters, and 6 of them will be quite challenging. Really? Eswin grumbles, angered by the sudden threat. Those creatures are very dangerous, especially out here in the open. Cartha shouts, fearful for all the drow within the arena. We need to defeat them before they turn on the dark elves and slaughter them. Indeed, the monsters take to the air and start attacking the nearest drow. Releasing them was a stupid thing to do. Rushing toward the encircling manticores, you're able to quickly attract their attention, the only ones here in the arena who are actually a threat to them. In turn, the monsters rush forward and attack, assaulting your party with tremendous ferocity. Your party is under attack. Menacing your entire party are 6 manticores. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana uses a boots of speed on herself, allowing herself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. Eswin uses a boots of speed on himself, allowing himself to act twice each round for 5 minutes. Janet uses a blink dog on manticore number 1, biting it for 1 point of damage for a half hour. It's Barthol's turn. What do you want him to do? Needing a 50 or less on percentile dice, a 6 is rolled. Success. Barthol blends into Marioleth casts magic missile on manticore number 1, striking it with a magic missile for 9 points of damage. Manticore number 4 closes in on Ariana to attack. It's Ariana's turn. What do you want her to do? Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at manticore number 4. Redfern casts fireball on roughly half of all encountered combatants, blasting them in an explosion of flame. Manticore number 1 is burned for 24 points of damage, needing a 15 or greater. Manticore Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at manticore number 4. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at manticore number 4, needing a 18 to hit. Manticore number 6 closes in on Ariana to attack. It's Senires's turn. What do you want? Senires casts Bless on the entire party, potentially blessing them. Janet is blessed for 10 minutes. Manticore number 5 fails a morale check, flees the encounter area and is automatically defeated. GM note, a new combat round has begun. In it, Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at manticore number 4, needing a 17 to hit. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at manticore number 2. Janet casts spiritual hammer on manticore number 4, bashing it for 4 points. Janet directs her blink dog at manticore number 4, biting it for 5 points of damage and defeating it. It's Marioleth's turn. What do you want her to do? Marioleth readies her longsword +1 and swings at manticore number 6, needing a 17 to hit. Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at manticore number 6, needing a 17 to hit. Barthol readies his short sword +1 and swings at manticore number 6, needing a 13 to hit, +4 due to hiding in shadows. Die roll is a 11, +6 to hit and does triple damage. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at manticore. Redfern casts magic missile on manticore number 6, striking it. Cartha readies her mace +1 and swings at manticore number 2, needing a 17 to hit. Die roll is a 2, +6 to hit. It's Senires's turn. What do you want him to do? GM note, a new combat round has begun. Initiative is rolled, with higher values acting first. Sainairs readies his Ariana readies her longsword +2 and swings at Manticore number 2, needing a 7. Eswin readies his longsword +2 and swings at Manticore number 2, needing a 17 to hit. Arthal readies his short sword +1 and swings at Manticore number 2, needing. Redfern casts magic missile on Manticore number 2, striking it with a magic missile for 9 points of damage. Manticore number 2 has been defeated. Well done. All combatants have been defeated, ending the battle. Each hero receives 416 experience points. Given the sheer violence involved, your heroes have no choice but to destroy the Manticores, killing all 6 of them and emerging victorious. The party's reputation score permanently increases by 1 point. The Drow citizenry continuing to flee from the unleashing of the Manticores, your heroes stand near the center of the arena, the monster corpses continuing to bleed into the soft soil. Catching your breath and beginning to nurse your wounds, the dark elf fighter in plate mail armor slowly steps toward you, her head down in embarrassment and humility. What were you thinking? Kartha condemns, quite angry. Those beasts could have killed a lot of townspeople here. I thought they would only attack you, the Drow replies, clearly humbled. What were you doing with Manticores in the first place? Redfern demands to know. They were executioners, the dark elf replies, strangely unrepentant. Lord Daenzeth enjoyed sending his enemies to the arena to fight the Manticores and be killed. I didn't think any of you would stand a chance against 6 of them. Then I would say we more than won this gladiator game, Eswin mocks. Where do we collect the silver medallion? You weren't supposed to win it, the fighter replies, stepping to you. Only the Lord's Guard was supposed to win. But you not only defeated our best but saved a lot of lives just now, so here. The Drow warrior reaches toward you and plops the medallion in your hand, awarding you with the silver treasure. You're now one of the richest and most powerful people in all Lyclea, the woman says with a grin. Be wary, many would kill for that medallion. The referee then turns and walks away, leaving you to ponder. Several of your heroes ask to see the silver medallion, the item itself not all that uncommon, especially given the power and prestige it brings to its owner here in Lyclea. Looks like we can get past those obnoxious guards now. Back at the power tower, Ariana reminds the party, recalling their rudeness and looking forward to encountering them again. You nod, place the medallion around your neck, then lead the party away and back toward the entrance to the arena, the action here over and the encounter drawing to a close. GM note, your quest log has been updated. Click the quests button for all the details. Returning to the front gate of the arena, your business here is done, there is nothing more you can do. Paths lead away to the north, Power Tower, west, Tavern and Hostel, east, Jeweler and Scribe, as well as south, the jail and gallows.